what's a question about AI or startups you think more people should be asking right now?
I think the biggest question that people should be asking is, where is the value? If you're creating a startup and you're, a wrapper on top of OpenAI, that's fine. But like, really, where's your value? And how is that value going to be communicated going forward? And I think if you really understand where your value is being created, then you can do a great job at pitching that to businesses. Right now, we're in this period where people will just kind of like throw money at AI because they don't really know what's happening. But at some point in the future, people are going to know what's happening. They're going to understand. And you have to really kind of always think of like, how am I getting closer to value from end businesses and consumers, whatever you're going for, and how do I double down on that feature?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ignite podcast. Today we're thrilled to have Will Bodewes on the mic. He is the co-founder and CEO of Phonely, a company building conversational AI agents that answer business phone calls with natural voice and deep workflow integrations. Will's background spans endurance athletics, early startup experiments, applied AI research, and now building voice systems that reshape how companies interact with customers. Thanks for coming on, Will.
Yeah, thanks so much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so I always start the episode with a what's your origin story question. We would love to hear your background.
That's a great question. I guess we'll start at the beginning. So I grew up in a small town in northern Wisconsin. I often brag that my family made 1% of my population. So it's very, very small. I had a background.
How big is the family?
7 people. So not
okay.
that 1,000 people. No.
Yeah. 7,000 people and you were 7 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
or 700, I guess, if 1%. Yeah.
Didn't have a stoplight, so it came from a very, very small town, very rural experience, but I got into cross-country skiing, weirdly enough, because I was in northern Wisconsin and the only options are drink beer, snowmobile, and cross-country ski. So I took that third option in the wintertime.
And ice fish, right?
Yeah, ice fish, which is basically drinking beer and sitting on a bucket in the ice. Never understand ice fishing. So I got into cross-country skiing, got pretty good at that. I ended up going to college for that and competed all the way up to the NCAAs in that. After college, I went and started my first company, which didn't really end up working out other than Chance the Rapper follows me on Instagram, which I think is a big flex right there.
What was the first company and why would Chance follow you?
Yeah, first company is called Spoke Sound. It was just my first experience in startups. I always knew that I wanted to build something. And I always just for me, what excites me is contributing to the world. It's your whole entire life. You take things from the world, you use other things that people built, and I wanted to give back to it. And so at the time, that was the best kind of idea that I had, which was to integrate Bluetooth speakers into Canvas photographs. So I was working on it's called distributed mode loudspeaker technology. But it was cool. We worked with artists and they would put a Bluetooth speaker behind it and then they would hang it on the wall. And it was just really kind of fun art piece that they could create. Also worked with some hotels and stuff like that to help them hide the speakers, basically. And then Chance the Rapper found out about the company just through word of mouth from other artists, and then reached out, followed me on Instagram, and was like,
nice.
Yeah, I love your invention. It was a crazy DM, not gonna lie.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
Yeah, so then after that, I started a PhD in artificial intelligence. I had kind of during COVID that I paused that just because I was I was in Australia and I couldn't get over there. So I started working on that. Always kind of knew that I wanted to come back to startups, but I, started the PhD in AI in 2020 before it was cool. And then as it continued to pick up, my interest in this continued to grow. And I just wanted to really understand the AI space and whatever. And so picked that back up, worked on that for about 2 years, and then started working on Phonely, which, at the time was basically, we've weirdly enough stayed on the same trajectory the whole time. We've there's been deviations, but we kind of felt that voice agents back before voice AI was even a thing. We were hey, this is gonna be big someday. This is gonna be a really valuable thing to businesses. So we started working on that. We started putting that together. We got into Y Combinator. Since then have grown tremendously throughout YC, post YC, building up the team out here in San Francisco, and just learning so much about how to scale a startup and also how to make AI talk like people.
What do you wish you knew when you started Phonely that you've kind of learned the hard way?
Many things. I think that if I was going to give myself some advice looking back, it would be if this works out. I think the thing that everyone underestimates, and I heard before, which is how long and how hard you have to work on something to to make it actually work. And I think it's really easy to get this kind of like short-term mindset when you're making decisions in the early days, because everything feels like it's compounding, like the decisions you make, like, oh, this customer that's paying me $7 a month is going to churn, my company's over. And I think just like having the maybe wisdom to take a little bit more of a long-term perspective and say, hey, if we do the right things, if we hire the right people, if we, do what is right to our customers, we will have success. And I think it's just maybe just like an underlying belief that if we're solving a serious problem, we continue to work hard, we continue to iterate on it, and then from the very onset, we try to make the right decisions for the long term and not the short term. I think that is something that would enable us to be farther ahead.
How did you know it was the right time to do something like this? Voice AI has really come, into its own in probably the last 2 or 3 years. When did you start Phonely, and when did you decide like, okay, this is the right technological time for this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we started working on it before it worked, right? So that's how we know it's like the right time to start it, is because you couldn't like there was nothing.
Doesn't quite work, but it probably will work in like 6 to 12 months. It's kind of the right time to start working on it.
Yeah, exactly. Where it was like, oh, this doesn't work now, but we could see how it worked. There was an inherent pain point that was out there, and so how did I decide it was the right time? And it was personally for me, it was the right time because I was ready to start something else. I knew that I was meant to be a founder, and I knew that there was no other choice. And then the other thing was like, it seemed possible. Like it seemed like, okay, well, if you connect these things and we solve these, like you saw like glimmers of hope that this was going to be possible.
So why voice calls, right? Because I mean, so much of tech has been centered around text and chat.
Yeah, I think part of the reason is that, right? Because so much of tech has been centered around those things. And in some sense, like voice is much bigger pain point to businesses, right? Because voice scales only 1-to-1, one person talking to another person. With this chat, you can have 5 to 6 to maybe even 10 people in a conversation. So you can scale that out much faster, right? And then voice is also one of those things where it's a hard problem to solve because you have human interaction to deal with. And that it's kind of like when you find the hard problems to solve, those are the problems that you should try to solve because less people are going to actually try to do them, right? And so the voice interaction for us was always like, there feels like there's a lot of opportunity to not just make chatbots talk, but to really make true, like to optimize for performance, right? And we think about it as, they just figured out that you could put books on the internet stage with voice AI, right? But now the next stage is going to be like, wow, you can optimize for conversion of these AI agents for business outcomes. And like, that's what we're driving towards is it's like, there's so much stuff that needs to be built around this. So you can make an AI agent that like truly is able to outperform every human agent in X, Y, and Z field. Like we're trying to build those tools so that businesses can really get the value because they care about that. Because if you are, a doctor, for example, and you miss out on a surgery that could have netted you $20,000, it's very important that AI agent didn't mess that up and didn't say the wrong thing and sounded friendly and X, Y, and Z thing. And so that's where we say like, hey, this is the problem that will need to be solved in the future. And so we try to continue to work on.
Yeah, it's amazing. When did you know, when did you first feel the pull of the market? Was it a particular segment of the market, particular use case? What was it where you're like, okay, we're onto something here, let's lean in?
It's kind of been a gradual pull. Like, I don't know that there's been a moment where we're like, this was it. It was kind of just like throwing a lot of different things at the wall and then figuring out what customers cared about. Right. And the way that we would kind of figure this out is customers would complain about a feature that we just shipped not working. And we're like, oh, well, that's important. Like this feature that we just put into production that didn't exist last week, people are now complaining because it doesn't work. Like that feels like we should probably go more into that. And so that's really how we shaped our product a lot, is just saying like, well, I think this is a good idea. We put it in, nobody would care about it. Like, okay, well, that's not a good idea. We put something in that we didn't think anyone would care about, or we listen to our customers. They're like, hey, we really want this thing. We really want this thing. And we're like, no, why would, like, just you want this. Nobody else is going to want this. And then we did it. And then everybody else wanted it. We're like, oh, we should have done that more. So it's just
important. That's an important distinction. I'd love to double click on that as a PM who's built some products that were successful, but a lot of products that nobody used, products and features that nobody used. How did you, it sounds like, I like to say like product and building product is like sculpting, but you don't know like what the underlying statue is that you're sculpting. You kind of figure it out as you go, one like the stroke of the chisel at a time. Would you agree with that? Or because it kind of sounds like that you're kind of like listening to your customers, throwing ideas out there, lots of testing. Have you deprecated features as well, where you kind of ship something, you're like, oh, this isn't, nobody likes this and nobody cares, and take it out?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's like the art of building a successful company is customers. Everyone's like, oh, listen to your customers and do what they want. Customers never tell you what they want because they don't know what they want, right? They describe their problems and you have to figure out creative ways to solve them. And a lot of times, like, your creative ways to solve them are not how they wanted you to solve them, right? And so I think it's just like this general iteration of, like, figuring out the problems, trying to solve them, and going off of that. And then one thing that I will say that like really helped us, like the one thing that probably 10x our product from a user perspective is, and I recommend this to any founder, anybody who's starting out, is to do white glove onboarding for your clients, because then you feel the pain of your product not working. If you say, hey, charge a little extra for white glove onboarding, not in the, like, you're sure you'll make more money, but really what's going to happen is you're going to be like, oh, this doesn't work, this doesn't make sense, why the heck did we do it like this? And then you will very quickly feel the pain of your customers and be like, this is not a right way to solve the problem. And so that's like the shortcut that we've learned along the way, which is like, always have an option where we build this stuff out for them, because now it's like, the product stuff isn't like, our product decisions a lot of times are coming from our customer team that's onboarding these clients and saying, like, I don't like this is bad, we should do it like this. And I think that's the best way to like run the organization, is it should flow that direction. Like, product features shouldn't flow like top down. It should be like focus should flow top down, and then product features should flow customer to engineering.
Yeah, I like that. So who's the ICP today, and how has that shifted over time?
Yeah, so when we first started, our very first deal was $7 a month for some lady who I don't even think she knew what we were doing, but I spent 2 hours on the phone with her, and if I didn't end up with something, I was going to be very mad at myself. And so at the beginning, we were selling very small, very, very small businesses, like anybody, 25, $100 a month, something like that, just to answer their phones with AI. We really didn't have a focus other than, like, our objective was to say, like, hey, save you money by answering the phones. As we've continued to grow as a business, it was like, I remember that first few months of launching Phonely, it was like, we got a $7, we got a $30, we got a $100, and we got a $500 a month subscription. And then, we got a 2,000, like a 3,000, and then 50, like, it just kind of kept going up like that. And what we found is that we really started to land with customers that had a pain point in making more money. And what I mean, but like, how does a phone help with make more money? Well, it's around the things that I talked about already. It's like scheduling an appointment, making sure that call is answered so that they don't miss a lead, and then focusing on, the larger businesses that maybe have this problem, not just for one person, but for 10,000 people that work under that, right? So like, it's just try to find the bigger opportunities to solve the same problem, which is like, how do you monetize more of people that are calling in needing your service?
So it's interesting. So it's a pretty broad, almost like a horizontal platform. There's no verticalization here. And how do you think about that push-pull between building something that's much more broadly applicable versus like vertical specific?
I think in some sense we are becoming like more vertical, but not on a specific industry, right? There's different ways that you can think about verticalization of software. One is like, okay, we're just going to own this industry. The other one is like, we're going to own this problem. And like, for us, the problem that we're owning is, how do you make your AI agents convert? Because realistically, to say like, oh, how do you make your AI agents convert in, roofing, is very similar to how do you make your AI agents convert in,
HVAC
and HVAC. Yeah. It's like, it's the same thing, right? It's the same like concept that we're trying to solve, rather than saying like, oh, it's specific to insurance. Because the only thing that's slightly different, and the reason why we say this specifically is because every business has their own qualification criteria. So it doesn't matter if you're with one roofer or another roofer. It's like, they're going to ask different questions based upon what they need, what they service, etc. So it's really like, that's actually not the right, for us, for our specific industry, is that's not the right necessarily problem to solve, except for like a go-to-market perspective, which is, okay, we're just going to focus on that. And that's more of a sales opportunity. We're more focused on the product, is say like, this system needs to be built and people will continue to care about this in 10, 15 years.
How do you guys scale go-to-market? I mean, that's always a question I get from founders, like, hey, I'm, struggling to grow. Like, what have you guys kind of learned about growth? Because you guys have done a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's like small things that compound. I think that's really like the truth of it, is we haven't really like figured out cold calling, outbound emailing. Like, we haven't figured that out. But what we have done is try to put a decent performance of ourselves on the website. So we have a we've worked a little bit on SEO. We've done a bit of work on our website to try to optimize it. And then we go to conferences. We just try to put ourselves in places where, the buyers that we're looking for are. And then the other thing that we've done that has worked out is like we'll send LinkedIn connects, and we just send blank message LinkedIn connect. If somebody connects us an ICP, or write them a personalized note. Like those are the kind of things, and then post on LinkedIn. So it's probably just a lot of small things that you do to optimize for it, rather than say like, oh, this is our one thing and one hack. And we try to avoid the I think one thing that we've learned the hard way is we got into YC, we got a lot of traffic from that when we launched. Is there's I think some idea that going viral is the solution to your problems, but going viral with a product that doesn't work is just a whole bunch of pain. It's just so much pain and so much negativeness that you have. Okay, you just launch your product and it goes everywhere, it goes super viral, you get a bunch of users, your product doesn't work, so people churn, they leave, and it's just a very horrible experience. And it's much better to just focus on building a good product, getting the customers, and then making our customers grow. And one of our hacks is that we've signed customers for $2,000-$3,000 a month that now pay us $70,000 a month. And so we've just learned how to build a really good product with really good customers that can scale, and we've just built that relationship. So right now it's our relationship and our outcomes are what's scaling more so than some crazy virality go to market strategy.
A common thing I hear about AI, or a lot of people are afraid it's going to take our jobs. You're literally implementing AI that replaces human beings answering phones, right?
Yep.
How have you measured or noticed any changes in the organizations? I mean, you've obviously seen increased business outcomes. That's why they go from paying you 2 to 3 to 7 to 70,000 a month. What have you observed inside the businesses that you're helping, if at all?
We haven't felt that super direct impact of it. I will say, I think about it from a philosophy standpoint of saying the jobs that we're replacing are the jobs where we're teaching people to be robots, right? We're teaching people to ask the same question every single day, over and over and over again. And I'm like, this is silly, right? And I think if you look back in there was a time where there was a job called the calculator, and that person's job was to sit in a room and they were to do math problems.
In a skyscraper, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's their job. It was to do that. And so it's the same thing as oh, should we not have invented a calculator because we replaced all those jobs of people?
Or spreadsheets for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the similar idea that we take into it is we want to, as a society and as a world, is I think we should focus on, having AI do the jobs where robots can do, and allowing people to do more of the things that really make people human, which is connection.
Do you have any case studies or stories from your clients that you're particularly proud of?
I feel the thing that I'm proud of, maybe it's not as much of our client. I think I'm more just proud of our team in some sense, where it's the case studies that I'm proud of is our team and our clients love us. I just got off a call right before this with somebody who's dude, I eat Phonely, I breathe Phonely, I go to sleep and I wake up and I dream about Phonely. And it's because it's we're saving him 80% of what he's paying. And, he's just so thankful.
And increasing revenue in the process.
And increasing revenue at the same time. And he's just so thankful of kind of what we're doing. And so it's more of just I'm proud that our team has been able to create something like that this guy is just he's obsessed about. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. Have you been able to dog food your product at all? Right? Use Phonely to sell Phonely, or use Phonely to, answer customer service requests, or, answer incoming, calls of people interested in talking.
Weirdly enough, we don't do a lot of that. We should. We definitely should. We dog food our product in the sense of we're implementing on our clients. That's how we're dog fooding it all the time, is just using it. But we dog food it, and we listen to the customers' calls for them. And we do manual QA. We've got a team of 10 people that just listen to calls. What's an opportunity for improvement? How could we have made our AI sound a little bit better, answer the question a little bit differently? Why did this call fall off the path, right? But in terms of are we doing this for ourselves? No, not really. Why is that? Because we focused on product. We haven't focused on growth and go to market, simply because we knew that we could make our customers scale, and we wanted to prove to ourselves and to the future that we can do that. And now we're at the stage of our company where it's our focus is shifting, right? It's we know the product works, we know it's scaling. How do we start dog fooding our own product to get more?
Right. It becomes as you cross into where you guys are in terms of revenue and round, it becomes okay, how do we scale this?
Yeah, exactly.
Going 0 to 1's one thing, and then 1 to 10, and then 10 to 100 is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
It requires a different kind of mindset. What surprised you most about customers that started using Phonely?
What surprised us most? It's a great question. I think it was just like when you start something that is a relatively new industry to you, you get the privilege of learning a lot about a lot of different businesses and how they operate. And I think the thing that impressed me was just like how many people were kind of out there and what some of these businesses did. Like I feel like I just got a free, masterclass in so many different industries and so many different verticals on what they were doing to answer their phones and what they needed done and what you just learn so much about all these like weird niche things. It's like, pest control or like plumbing or like, just like random things. You just get to like understand how their business works and like get a really cool view of like how the world works in a different way than I had ever really like experienced before. Like in these industries I would never ever be a part of, but I just got to learn about. I was like, oh wow, that's crazy that this lead is worth like however much money and we're, by answering the phone we're able to, to kind of to help that.
Yeah. How has the tech stack progressed over time? What were you guys using when you got started? Were you using some voice AI platforms? Did you hack it together yourself? And kind of how has it evolved to the present?
Yeah, for sure. So we, in the early days, we did like, we started building it ourselves. And then we had a period of time where we used like some other, voice providers platforms. And then we kind of realized that the problems that we were trying to solve weren't solved by them. And we just needed to build it all out ourselves. So, during YC, we took everything in-house and we just started building it out kind of from the ground up in the way that we thought it should be built. And this is like one of these things where it's a pain, like a huge pain to build it all yourself because you have to deal with reliability, you have to deal with latency. But we do have things as like very accurate voice activity detection. Like we've built in and integrated our own, features that I think that it wouldn't have been possible. So it was a huge pain. It took a lot of work, but we really we've been building out the tech stack ourselves, like our own Kubernetes clusters, managing scaling, just because it at some point it becomes more valuable to have it reliant on your own tech. And it's what customers are going to pay for.
Yeah. So I'm a roofer. Yep. And I find out about you guys from another, small business buddy of mine. Like, yep. What's the onboarding look like? How fast and what's the onboarding flow look like?
Yeah, for sure. Depends on how much your call volume is, right? So if you're not doing about 10,000 calls a month, we'd refer you to one of our smaller plans. That would be self-serve. We have a free plan. You can get started completely for free. Build out the agent yourself. We've got a whole help center, docs, all that stuff. That's the thing one people don't know about. It's like we have a 200 minutes you just get for free per month. So
that's cool.
You can just use one of our templates that we've maybe built for another roofing industry. Just plug that in. Get started, get a free phone number, everything, and just get connected right away. If you're doing maybe a little bit more minutes, or maybe you want an integration to your CRM, we'd have like some other self-serve plans that you could get on. So you need to connect with Google Calendar. You're going to upgrade to one of those plans. But if you're answering more than 10,000 calls a month, what it's going to look like is, we work with you to help implement. When I talked about dog fooding around product, we work with you. You give us your scripts, you give us some call recordings, you give us what you want to have done, and we work with you to implement that for you. Usually time to go live is 1 to 3 weeks, depending on how much integration that you need. We work on first 30 days is like, we'll prove the value to you. It's just like a 30-day quote unquote pilot period. And if we don't prove that we're going to be something that you guys need in that course of time, that's like walk away, no problem. And then we'd move on to an annual contract.
I should probably onboard Team Ignite and get a free phone number.
There you go.
Team Ignite, So like founders will be texting me and calling me, pitching me their startups, or LPs are calling. And
yeah, there you go.
That's really cool. What was the thinking behind the freemium offering? Did that was that right at the beginning, or is that something you guys kind of brought later in the journey?
It was not really from the beginning. We initially had like a free month, and we just like made our starter tier for free. The reason why we did it was just like end of the day is like we want to help businesses out, right? And like we wanted to provide a free option to it. We realized that we weren't going to make we're not going to make a lot of money on those small tier plans anyways. And so it's like, well, if our option is to like gate it and not let anybody use the product, or to give the product away for free, at least we could feel good about helping out businesses.
Plus those businesses might grow into big businesses someday. They might just be getting started and they have a small need now, but they'll have a big need, years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess our side is just like, we just want to, it's like our portion of like giving back and hopefully trying to add value. I think the more ways in which we can add value, the more ways that we can help. People will always think about us, and maybe they might be a small business, but their buddy might be a big business, right? And so they're using us and they refer us, and then that's worth it.
How have you thought about building out the team and culture as you scale and hire more people?
Yeah, culture's been super important to us. I think we try to really pick people that are very low ego, work hard. Like those are kind of our characteristics. Like you don't have to be the smartest person in the world. You don't have to have the craziest, experience or whatever. But you do have to really want to work hard, really want to win, and then not think that you have all the answers. I think that picking those for those characteristics has been super helpful for us. And then as we continue to go on, looking forward, looking for great engineers, looking for great people in sales, marketing, growth, et cetera, as we continue to scale.
Yeah. So what are you excited about as you look forward in the next year?
Yeah, good question. I'm just excited. Like over the past year, the product has really come together and started to work. And so it's cool to get to points where we have very clear product direction, very clear focus, and then also just to see the product working with like such good uptime and to see our customers being like, okay, cool, we're going to turn all of our calls over to you instead of like half. And so, just to see like the company continue to grow and people continuing to be like, wow, this is like a truly, differentiated, unique experience. You guys have really thought about this and really built this. I think it's just like exciting to get more people to use that, because the thing that people don't realize is like every single product decision, that everything on that, every button, every pixel that we have on there, like we've thought about really hard. And to just get more people that appreciate that is going to get me excited.
Yeah. What about long term? What's the long term vision? 10 years out, you're ringing the NASDAQ bell. What did you build and what are you proud of?
Yeah. I think the thing that would make us really proud is to solve the problem of helping a lot of businesses, right? And hopefully it's going to be to like help a lot of businesses to connect more consumers with businesses in a better way, right? And because as a consumer, it's like I hate ringing up to someplace and getting an IVR system, or not even getting a call.
Press 2 for this. Press 3 for that.
It's horrible. And so to contribute to like making the world a better place for both businesses and consumers feels like a really, really awesome goal. And I guess for us, it's just going to be like to try to get as many businesses using this as we can. And the way that we do that is we help businesses optimize for their outcomes, which is helping consumers get what they want. Right. And that's our goal, is to like put those two things together. And that's what we're going to be ringing the NASDAQ bell is when we figure that
out. Let's wrap up with some rapid fire questions.
Go for it.
What's a belief you hold about building AI companies that most people disagree with?
Most people disagree with. Well, I think that this has been, I've kind of got two. Number one is AI is tapering off and how good it can be, right? And so I think that like it's growing, but it's not growing at the rate that it has before. So it's a very valuable time for...
In its capabilities, you mean?
Yeah, its capabilities, right? Yeah. Like it's getting better and it's getting better and it's progressively getting better.
But it's no longer getting like 10x better year over year. Maybe on like some math benchmarks and some arcane humanity's last exam. But like in terms of voice AI, you're not seeing the order of magnitude increases year after year as you were like maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. And I think it's just a really good time for people to get in and try to add value to businesses. I'd say that that's probably the big one. It's just like, it's knowing how to use and implement AI is a hard thing. And I think that it's not something that like all big businesses want AI, but very few people know how to implement and use them. And so I think it's an exciting time if you're building with AI to implement solutions for a specific type of business.
Is that both parts? You said there were two things. Yeah. What skill has mattered more than raw intelligence in your journey so far?
Just grit, not giving up. That's it. It's just like, don't quit.
Was there a time where you thought like, maybe we should quit and you just persevered?
Probably every day for a course of like 6 months to a year.
Was that the first 6 months or when was that?
Not as much anymore. But for the first year.
6 to 12 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was like, it's like.
Going 0 to 1. Yeah.
Right. They raise more money or like, so you see something or the product is not working and you're like, man, I would really like to not be doing this right now. Like your customer's mad at you. It's just,
getting punched in the face day after day. And,
yeah. It really is. So yes, most of it.
Speaking of which, what's the hardest founder decision you've made that looked wrong from the outside?
Man, these are some deep questions. I think from the outside, like the whole thing that we like, our whole product is like what everyone says is wrong from the outside. It's like a horizontal product is like the amount of investor calls that I had with people that are like, you should focus on a niche vertical, and I want you to create an insurance AI, and I want you to go up to the CRM and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's the path. Like, that's what everybody wants.
Cookie cutter. Yeah. That's why I asked the vertical question, because a lot of vertical works, but I think you segment it in a different way, which is the problem. What's the problem that we're solving?
Yeah.
And what's the common problem that a lot of people have, a lot of businesses have? And I think it's an interesting way to segment the market.
Yeah. I mean, that's the consistent decision that we've constantly made, because we've listened to our customers more than we've listened to investors or people.
Oh, you shouldn't listen to us. Like, we don't know. Yeah, don't listen to us.
We're just like, well, what do we do to solve your problems? And then the things that we do to solve their problems seems like an unintelligent decision to make if you're going upon that approach.
Yeah, because the investor has ulterior motives, right? They're thinking about their portfolio, and they're thinking well, I don't have somebody going after the voice agent insurance space. That's what they're thinking. It was oh, we'd love for you to tackle that.
Yeah.
So but that may not be the best thing for your team and your product and
for the customers. They're the ones that we care about anyways. It's if they don't think it's useful, then that's what matters, not what everybody else thinks.
What's a recent AI development that genuinely changed how you think about the future?
That's a good question. I think so. It's not a specific one, realistically, or this just happened and I think this is going to change the way everything works. But I think that the thing that's really interesting is these browser agents and how good they're getting and how fast they're getting. I think that those two things are really exciting because it allows us to unlock access to a lot of different systems without having to build APIs.
Right. A lot of systems don't have APIs, right?
Yeah.
But they have GUIs, right?
And I think
keyboard and mouse GUIs.
That's the thing that's a little bit underrated when it comes to voice. I don't see many people working on that, and I think it's gonna be cool in the future. It's gonna happen.
What do most people misunderstand about phone calls as a communication medium?
On a communication medium. I think that the thing that people misunderstand is how convenient it is to pick up the phone and call something and get an answer in 30 seconds. And I think a lot of people think about phone and they think about that oh, that's a dying industry. And I think realistically, it's going to be a growing industry when people start to realize that wait, it's super convenient to be do you guys have anything available at 4:00? Rather than getting on your website, figuring out where the button
logging in. Oh man, I got to do multi-factor authentication to log in. Okay, now where was I here? Do they have a thing? Okay, now I got to write them and then I got to wait for a response. And then I could have just picked up. What's funny is my wife and I will argue about this because she is not one. She will go through all the hoops of not making a phone call. She'll is there any possible way not to make a phone call? She'll do it. But I'm just I'll just pick up the phone, right? Because to your point, you can get an answer in under 60 seconds versus 5-10 minutes of jumping through UI.
And why do you think she does that? Is it because she thinks phone calls can't help her?
I think there's this aspect to her where she doesn't want to put people on the spot and inconvenience them. And also she tends to be very social. So if she knows, I think she knows herself well, if she gets on a phone call with somebody, she'll become friends with them and talk to them too long. So if she's listening, she's probably laughing.
AI will solve that because it's, he's yo, I'm not going to feel bad. I'm going to get my information that I want. And so you're going to get more phone calls. And people are going to start putting the phone calls on the front of their websites again.
Right.
So you can get a hold of
this number right now. We have operators are standing by.
Yeah.
As the phrase goes, right? What's an discussed risk in voice AI that founders should take seriously right now? If you're advising a friend starting in a different space in voice AI.
Yeah, TCPA. That is a thing that's not consistently talked about. TCPA is the Telephone Protection Communication Act or something like that. But basically, it's a regulation that deals with outbound calling. So outbound calling is, has to have specific consent in order to make this happen. And there's some gray areas where we'll see some people that are new to the space that want to get in and they basically want to just cold call a bunch of people using AI. We think that that's, there's illegal now and definitely going to be illegal in the future. So I think anybody who's approaching this from a perspective of I don't think you should really approach voice AI or phone calling from look at AI, I can now contact 1 million people just like I could do with emails, because that's all going to get, there's going to be lawsuits. It's going to get, that's not going to be good. So try to solve the real problem, which is answering phones inbound and then only use outbound if there's very specific use cases, which there are some that are legitimate. But
collecting debts. That's another YC company of ours, CollectWise. What advice would you give researchers thinking about becoming founders?
Don't do it.
Just stay in academia and just get tenure and chill.
I kind of give that advice to everybody, right? Don't be a founder unless you have no other choice but to be a founder. Yourself. If Like there's some people that you won't have another decision to be a founder because it's so hard. And even if it works out, like it's worked out objectively very well for us, right? And every single day it is incredibly hard. And it sounds like that's so nice that it's hard, but it's not. Like it's romanticized, but it's just like it just sucks, man. Like you don't have any friends. You're constantly working all the time. You're constantly stressed out. All the problems, they just come up to you, and there's just like really like not a good motivation to do it other than you have like no choice other than to try to change the world, and that's the reason that you're put in this earth. And so if that doesn't feel like you, then like join a startup. That's fun. Work on research. That's fun. Contribute in some other way. Like, but I just wouldn't do it unless you really feel the need.
I have a new VC question when I meet founders now. Like, why were you put on this earth? And see what they say.
Yeah, honestly, that's fair.
Because you said right at the outset here at the start was, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had to build something. Yeah. What do you think that is about your background where you had to do that, right? Because you were in research, you were studying AI, PhD, all that stuff.
It's not like I think it's just kind of like an expectation of myself as a person that came from a very young age. So what a lot of people don't know about me is when I was like 14, I set my first world record, which was like kayaked for 72 days around the world's largest lake, and so it was like, wow. From a very young age, I had been doing these kind of like extreme things that most people could never accomplish. And so I just had this expectation and relationship with myself that like I was meant to do extreme things that people can't do. And then I also had like a pretty big passion for trying to help the world. And so what I view like startups as for me is a stepping stone to amass a lot of what the tokens that the world operates on, which is like money, so that I can help redistribute the chips going forward to help make the world a better place for everybody involved. And so for me, that's like, it's a very mission driven thing where it's like, I will go through all this pain because like I want to make the world a better place. And that's like one, and I believe that I'm special. Like that's the two reasons, right?
Yeah. And this is the biggest thing for us as VCs is trying to find people like you to invest in, right? Is and trying to spot that in a 30-minute conversation. In terms of most of my YC meetings, 15-minute conversations. Like what makes you unique? Why are you special? What put that chip on your shoulder? Why are you so driven? What have you done that's like special? In so many words. What do you think it is about, you have two co-founders, right? There's three of you?
No, just one.
Just one. So the two of you, what do you think makes you guys, we've learned a lot about you, but what about the two of you? Like, what do you think, what about the two of you has made you guys successful?
Yeah, I mean, I think Nisal is incredibly intelligent. He's just very, very smart. He's good at a lot of things that I'm bad at, which is like most of the like detail oriented stuff. Like I'm the very big picture guy, right? Where I say like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is like roughly how I'm going to do it. And he's good at like making things happen.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, last question. What's a question about AI or startups you think more people should be asking right now?
Good. I think the biggest question that people should be asking is, where is the value? If you're creating a startup and you're, a wrapper on top of OpenAI, that's fine. But like, really, where's your value? And how is that value going to be communicated going forward? And I think if you really understand where your value is being created, then you can do a great job at pitching that to businesses. Yeah. And I think that there's, right now we're in this period where people will just kind of like throw money at AI because they don't really know what's happening. But at some point in the future, people are going to know what's happening. They're going to understand. And you have to really kind of always think of like, how am I getting closer to value from end businesses and consumers, whatever you're going for? And how do I double down on that feature?
Well, Will, amazing progress. Great to get to know you better. I learned a lot. I'm sure entrepreneurs out there will learn a ton from this episode. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much.